Hello, and welcome to Eternal in 5. I'm aReNGee, and we're going to be covering some of the spoilers this weekend for the new Eternal Set 7, the Flame of Xulta. If you headed out to PAX this weekend and made your way down to the Direwolf Digital booth, you may have had your opportunity to get your hands on an exclusive spoiler card, which a couple of people did and then shared them around. So we've got 3 cards to go through, and we're going to be talking about whether these cards are a must craft or if they're going to be a bust coming out. And we'll start off with the softball, as we have a highly expensive, very cool dragon that doesn't actually do anything. So obviously the bar for 7 drops is very high. They're beyond even the newly increased cost of mass removal, and the story costing 6. So if they don't do anything the turn they come down, and they don't play defense when they attack, you're not getting a whole lot here. So this has a trigger that forces it to hit the opponent rather than just attacking, so it's already worse than that particular cycle of 5 drops, and it's already worse than a set 1 card that sees no play, Voprex, which has summon effect where the opponent sacrifices their whole board. So, not feeling this card. Pretty sure nobody else is either, but it is a Nightmare Dragon, so that's pretty cool. Moving on to our next spoiler, we have what I think will be a must craft in the coming days. Sodi Spellshaper is a 2-cost 1/1/1 weapon that you can spellcraft to play Equivocate. Now, notably, Equivocate is actually is not available in the Expedition format, so this is your only source of it. And as a 4-cost removal spell, that's pretty good for Elysian. Equivocate really undercosted for what Elysian usually needs to pay to get this kind of a removal. So definitely a good card to keep your eye on in the market, and Spellcraft always plays better than it looks. I was not a big fan of Vanquisher's Blade when that card came out, and it has vastly overperformed my expectations. So I expect this card to play equally well, especially since I think the front half is actually a little better. +2/+2, and cards can't leave the void is, it's reasonable, but drawing a card is always great. So whenever the Equivocate is not going to be all that useful, for example, against some of the, more unitless control decks, you're always going to be able to cash this in for a card. And just, cycling this on turn 2 off a 1-drop seems fine. Getting this from a merchant, and then if the Equivocate is not important in the matchup, just, playing this and getting in there. Drawing cards is pretty good. There's a 4-cost Skycrag card that I probably should have looked up, some Harpoon thing that has the same effect. +1/+1 and draw a card. I think it also gives quick draw. So you're really getting an undercosted weapon here, and I think this is going to see play in a lot of Elysian decks going forward. Do I think a lot of Elysian decks are going to see play going forward? Well, that remains to be seen. Now, a little bit of an aside here. Between these the 2 cards that we just have and our previous spoiler, it's pretty clear that this is not going to be a 3-faction set, as inside of a 200 card set, you don't have enough space for all of these 2-color rares and then also the 3-color rares to really fit everything out. So I would expect that they're going with a more reduced set. We've seen Feln, Stonescar, and Elysian so far. So we'll have to take a look and see what our remaining 2 colors are. And there'll probably be another Eternal in 5 video when we get more information on the set. Now, our final card is the Mercy of Kodosh Cursed Relic, which is a 4-cost relic that says when the cursed player draws their 2nd card in a turn, you draw a card. So guarantees parity if your opponent is drawing 1 card a turn. This is an obvious combo with Nightfall, because you can force your opponent to draw 2 cards every turn, and then you end up getting, 3 cards in a turn cycle and getting ahead that way. But Nightfall already, we've seen from the Nightmaul decks that Nightfall already fills up both players' hands really quickly, so I'm not sure that you really need a 3rd card every turn, and you do have to play a 4-cost relic that doesn't do anything immediately unless they do unless you already have Nightfall active, in order to get that. So you're kind of forced into Argenport because Justice itself doesn't really have any Nightfall. And we'll have to see how that deck sort of comes together. If there's more Nightfall support in the coming set, I would be more supportive of this card. But as it is 5 all-new mechanics, I'm not expecting Nightfall to make too much of a return, and therefore I'm going to call this card a bust. So I'm excited to see more spoilers about the Flame of Xulta in the coming weeks, and a couple more Eternal in 5 videos talking about them. Until then.